Thank you very much, Kathy. Well, Telkom's shares soared today on the news that the country's third largest mobile operator plans to list its mast and towers business by March next year. The news of the separate listing sent the company's share price soaring above 15% at one point in intraday trading today. Telkom Group CEO Sipho Maseko is joining us now to talk about this bold move. Sipho, for some time now, especially since 2017, when you spun off Telkom's towers and masts into SwiftNet, you've been of the view that this business has some value in it. This move really puts your vision to the test to see if investors will buy into it. Did the share price movement give you a glimpse of what the market thinks of your move?
Well, thanks for having me, Xolani. So we've always believed that the valuation of Telkom is at a massive discount relative to the underlying businesses that we have. And hence we embarked on this strategy post the stabilization of the company to unlock value for shareholders. When you look at the underlying businesses and you compare them with their peer groups, they trade at particular valuations that are not reflected in the Telkom share price. And therefore, this is just the first step from the Telkom perspective to begin to release these companies so that they can, on a standalone basis, be traded up on the board so that their true value can be seen. And, we are not surprised by it because we've always argued that there's a massive discount at which we are trading at as a company.
Just today, this news added, a billion rands to the value of the group's market cap. As management, you've always said that the value unlock strategy you've been working on is premised on Telkom's market capitalization and not representing its intrinsic value. Do you believe there's billions more to unlock, since we've also seen that you are considering also listing separately OpenServe?
Yeah, well, no doubt, actually. I mean, no doubt. If you look at the business, the tower business that we have, from a standing start of 4 years ago of zero, now it's generating an EBITDA of about R1 billion. We believe that with 5G upon us, the further digitalization, the penetration of smart devices, the demand for connectivity will grow, thus having a platform that is agnostic, where all the operators can be able to bring their equipment, is what will be needed, and that's what SwiftNet will do. The same goes for OpenServe. South Africa has about, give or take, about 200,000 kilometers of fiber, of which OpenServe owns about 165,000 of that. We don't think that asset is adequately valued in the Telkom share price. And once we are completed with this specific move with regards to SwiftNet, the next business will be OpenServe.
Telkom Route, that market cap that you have is actually at around 21 billion rand, but you estimate that the sum of Telkom's parts could be anything up to 53 billion rand. What would it allow Telkom if this market flotation does indeed unlock that much value in SwiftNet and OpenServe?
Well, it will allow a couple of things. Firstly, it will be able to enable the Telkom Group to really allocate the cash proceeds partly to shareholders, but partly to further support the growth that we still see in front of us. We believe that the future will be defined by data. I mean, just the conversation that you and I are having now was unthinkable a couple of years back. I would have had to be in your studio, but now you can talk to a whole lot more people than you may have done in the past. And the same goes for education, the same goes for work, the same goes for entertainment. So all of that actually is brought to us by the power of connectivity and broadband. So we truly believe that Telkom, in terms of the work that has been done by the team over the last couple of years, has really been positioned to be a major player over the next 10, 15 years. as the world switches from having been a voice-dominated world to being a data-led world. And we think that Telkom will have a big voice to say, but also a big role to play in enabling the totality of the country to become modern and digital.
Sipho, MTN holds a third of Nigeria's IHS towers. They are also planning their own market flotation on the New York Stock Exchange. You are certainly not the first ones who are going this route. Being the first on the starting block, however, what would that allow you to do in terms of raising that capital if you do list at the beginning of the next year?
So firstly, our approach is to list in South Africa. We believe that there's enough depth of capital in this country which would have an interest in owning the assets. So that's the first thing. So we will be a locally based business. Secondly, as I said earlier on, with the impending 5G investment, everyone talks about how much we need infrastructure going forward to enable economic recovery. The cash proceeds that we'll be able to get will enable us to invest both in expanding the fiber network, capitalizing the 5G investment that will be coming forth, and really making sure that, true to our slogan, we can do as much as we can so that nobody gets left behind in the world of connectivity. And we think that that flexibility will be there. And more importantly, each of these businesses will attract a universe of shareholders who have the appetite for the risk in that business. The tower business and the fiber business, those are long-term investment businesses. It seeks shareholders who will stay in the stock for years rather than short-term traders. And we think we'll be able to attract those kind of investors. And other businesses will attract different kinds of investors. And I think it gives us that flexibility to diversify our shareholder base appropriately.
Sipho, let me take this opportunity to talk about an issue of spectrum a little. At the top of 7, we will be in conversation with Busi Mavuso at BLSA about their views on what actually is happening around spectrum. You've been to court for a judicial review with other companies to raise objections of how the spectrum issue is being handled. It seems ICASA will not be able to meet its own January 22 deadline, further entrenching, in your view, the dominance of your competitors MTN and Vodacom. Surely this delay in spectrum is an indictment of South Africa's economic growth prospects.
Well, I mean, the fact that we still have not released spectrum is a disappointment, and it is totally unacceptable. And I think that the need and the time for spectrum to be released was certainly yesterday. However, it is very, very important that we don't sacrifice transparency, equity, and fairness at the altar of speed. Much as things need to be done fast, it's important that they are done transparently, equitably, and also in a fair manner. And regulators, unfortunately, that is primarily their duty. Their duty is to make sure that the market structure is sustainable, that there is no unfair advantage by one over another, that is structural, and that is why we live in the country that we live in, that has checks and balances. And when those checks and balances don't work, it will be the Wild West. So our decision to take this matter on review was not taken lightly. We didn't just wake up and decide this is where we're going to go. We had very cogent points that we raised, so much so that when the matter was meant to be heard, the regulator submitted what is called consent to the order, as it were. So they did not even file papers to oppose our application because they could not single out any particular point that they could take issue with in terms of the arguments that we had made. And we left it to the judge, and the judge decided in the form that he decided. However, it's very important now that we press the reset button. We obviously need to do things as speedily as we can, but like any other regulator, whether you go to court, Xolani, or any other place, what you wouldn't want yourself is a magistrate or a judge who deals with your matter in a hurry, and thus potentially your own rights may be affected or sacrificed. And much as we want speed, we want fairness, transparency, and equity, because spectrum, in a sense, I mean, if I were to give you a simplistic example, is like land, right? Once you've allocated it, you can't get it back anymore. And it actually sets how the structure of the market will look like for years to come. The current market structure that we have was almost predetermined in 1994. And it's taken a company like Telkom or even other companies years to be able to get to being a number 3 player. So it's important, therefore, that as we're thinking about the next 25 years, we make sure that the ground rules are established in such a way that there is no structural unfair advantage that is inbuilt in how we allocate spectrum.
ICASA says that the emergency spectrum that was allocated needs to be returned in November. What is your view, since the BLSA has warned against this?
Well, I'm equally stunned that they want the spectrum to be released, to be returned, because the reasons why it was made available in the first place was as a result of a request made to operators to do a couple of things. Expand the network, because we had a lot more people who were learning from home, who were working from home, who were not having the right download speeds. And ICASA said, because of the peculiar COVID circumstances, we want to make spectrum available that you guys can use so that you can carry increased traffic. Now, people are still working from home. We're still carrying a lot of government traffic for free as a result of that spectrum. And what in effect means is that come the 30th of November, the people who will suffer, the people who are enjoying decent data speeds, either for learning or for working, or government departments whose websites were accessed by many citizens and they were not paying for it. And I think it's one of those examples where policy is made on the run. And when policy is made on the run, you're creating many legal problems for yourself in the future. We shoot ourselves in the foot because it does not make economic sense, neither does it make legal sense.
Sipho, before I let you go, let me take this opportunity to talk about your exit. This is definitely not your exit interview. I hope that is still coming. But I want you to ask you what you are most proud of in terms of, what you have been able to achieve, many achievements since you've been at the helm at Telkom as you prepare to hand over.
There are too many to mention. I think the only thing probably I can single out now is just a gift of the people one had the privilege to work with, actually. From the chairman of the board at the time, Jabu Mabuza, and his board, working with him was a true gift to me, to the people that, the team that I have, and to many unsung heroes who have really toiled hard at Telkom. You never get to see them, you never get to hear them, but they visit people's homes, they make sure fiber gets installed, they service our customers. And every day when I went to work, I think that's what truly energized me. That will be probably one of the, I came to really love the place and love the people who work there. And that will be a very difficult time when I leave them behind. But everything has to come to an end, Xolani.
Telkom Group Chief Executive Officer Sipho Maseko, thank you very much for your time.